CNN's Brian Stelter recently came out with a book about Fox News and Donald Trump, and I find it really funny that CNN has like a dedicated show that just complains about Fox News and Trump. You'd think they'd talk about other things. I guess they kind of do sometimes, but it's seriously, you go to the Twitter feeds of like Stelter and some of these other people, and it's like Fox News all day, every day. Thank you for giving us the play-by-play on Fox News. And thank you for the moral superiority, CNN, in telling us just how awful Fox News and Trump's relationship is. You know how Trump watches Fox and then Fox says things and riles Trump up. Oh, it's so awful. I mean, could you imagine if like someone at Fox News was contacting the Trump administration and Republicans and telling them what to do, and or even like calling up Democrats and saying like, don't run in this district? It'd be crazy, right? I mean, could you imagine if Fox News did what CNN did? Oh no, look at that. CNN's fake news. CNN's Jake Tapper urged Republican Sean Parnell not to run against Democrat Rep. Connor Lamb. And at first, Jake Tapper denied this. But now we have the actual DM. This is published by Fox News. I think it's funny that we're in this battle, right? CNN's going to claim Fox News is fake news, and then Fox News is going to claim CNN's colluding to interfere in elections. Here's the it looks like a direct message. Jake Tapper said, on November 8th, 2019 at 12:10 p.m., best of luck in your race. For the record, I wasn't trying to talk you out of running. I was trying to talk you into running in a safer R district. LOL. Thanks for the advice, Jake Tapper. Should Jake Tapper be telling people who are running for office to run in different districts? I would say the answer is no. CNN is a major corporation. Jake Tapper is supposed to be a newsman, and that's undue influence on the electoral process of this country. Now, I don't think it's nearly as bad as some would suggest in terms of Jake Tapper and ethics and things like that. Just because you're a journalist or a news person, I know some people might think it's a bit much for a CNN guy for me to say that, but okay, look, he's a news guy. He can still have a candid conversation with a Republican and say, you'd probably better off running here. The only issue is whether or not he has a relationship with the Democrats and he's trying to help his Democratic friends. As far as it goes with CNN, now, this is a massive and major conflict of interest that Jake Tapper, using his verified account, would reach out to a Republican and say, run somewhere else. CNN would need to disclose this. Well, you know, I know that Brian Stelter, being a good, respectable, honorable guy, will absolutely come out and address the controversy and make a statement about it. Now, I'm sure CNN will apologize and in some capacity have some kind of, I don't know exactly what you do here, but I guess nothing can be done. In the end, we just know CNN, partisan outlet. That's what it is. Here's what Fox News reports. Exclusive. CNN anchor Jake Tapper tried to convince Republican Republican Sean Parnell. He's running for Congress. Slip of the tongue. Not to run against incumbent Democratic Rep. Connor Lamb for a Western Pennsylvania House seat, according to a Twitter direct message obtained by Fox News. Tapper suggested that Parnell, a U.S. Army combat veteran who recently delivered a speech at the RNC, would be better off running in a safer district for Republicans, according to a source close to but unaffiliated with Parnell's campaign, who feels the CNN anchor was unethically participating in political activism. It's not the biggest deal in the world for Sean Parnell or for Jake Tapper. I don't know why he was giving this advice, but it is a big deal for CNN because that CNN should not be doing that. They say Fox News obtained a Twitter direct message that Tapper sent Parnell's account on November 8, 2019, after he officially declared his candidacy for Pennsylvania's 17th Congressional District against Democratic Rep. Lamb. It's also strange because what's Sean going to do? Be like, oh, Jake Tapper hit me up. I changed my mind. I'm going to run a different district? That's just weird. The direct message backs up a story that was reported earlier this week by Breitbart, which cited sources familiar with the interactions, and reported that Tapper communicated his views on how Parnell should not run against Lamb in a variety of communication forms, including in text messages, Twitter direct messages, and in a phone call. CNN did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Tapper did not immediately respond to a series of questions, including whether or not he would be able to fairly report on the Parnell-Lamb race. Following the Breitbart story, Tapper denied urging Parnell not to run against Lamb. To former acting director of National Intelligence, Rick Grinnell. Do they have the actual tweet here? They do have the actual tweet. Neither CNN or Tapper responded when asked about the denial. The Parnell campaign declined to comment when reached by Fox News. It is unclear if CNN will allow Tapper to report on the race for Pennsylvania's 17th congressional district going forward. Quote, he boxed himself into a corner, the source said. He wanted him to primary a Republican. Instead of running against Lamb, he was looking out for his Democrat friend. Now, here's the tweet from Rick Grinnell. He says, I just asked Jake Tapper, quote, is it true you asked Sean Parnell to not run against Connor Lamb? He told me nope. So there is his answer. Interesting, and it may be a semantic argument. If he asked that, then Jake Tapper can say, I never said he shouldn't run against Lamb, but I did suggest he not run against Lamb because, I said he'd run in a different district. You see the semantics here. If he said run in a different district, isn't he saying don't run against Lamb? But not directly, and therein lies the game being played. Tapper, who bills himself as a nonpartisan newsman, anchors CNN's weekday newscast, The Lead with Jake Tapper, and Sunday morning State of the Union political program. The source wondered how many Republicans have nixed the idea of running for a specific public office because the influential Tapper talked them out of it over the years. CNN is expert at smearing people. You've got their Sunday morning anchor telling you what you should or shouldn't do. There are other candidates who would be like, all right, I don't need CNN coming after me. That's true. Imagine that. You got the Sunday morning anchor, one of the Sunday morning anchors, saying straight up, go run somewhere else. What happens if you don't? What is he going to say about you? Is he going to use his platform and his power to smear you and hurt your career or potential private sector prospects if you don't win your election? There's undue influence here, man. And listen, I talk to some politicians. I have conversations with people. I mean, I had Sean Parnell on the podcast and we'll talk about things. That's why I've been saying it's not the biggest deal for Tapper himself, but it is a major deal for CNN, which likes to pretend that Fox News is the real partisan problem. Guess what, Brian Stelter? You wrote a book called Hoax. I get it. But your own staff, high-ranking staff at your organization are having backroom conversations with political candidates, telling them what they should or shouldn't do. And I think it's funny coming from, look, CNN's going to want to pretend that they're fair and balanced, like, Fox News says fair and balanced. They're not. Here's an interesting passage. I want to read you some of this just to give you some context. Eric Wemple for the Washington Post writes, U.S. media reporters failed their readers on the night of December 18th, 2019. That was when the House of Representatives held a historic impeachment vote against Trump, the third such event in U.S. history. Everyone in the national news business, newspaper, TV reporters, TV anchors, producers, copy editors, they were mobilizing for the goings-on. Except for Sean Hannity, who had taped his primetime program. He had another commitment that night, so network producers did their best to camouflage the outdated material, in part by posting fresh chyrons and the like. And that sly Hannity, he got away with it. Almost. The scoop about Hannity's magic trick comes from the pages of Hoax, Donald Trump, Stelter's book. CNN's host of the weekly show Reliable Sources and a longtime media reporter, the anecdote comes with a helpful takeaway. I thought he was live, like every other host was, on every other channel, on the most important news day of the year. How could he not be? Because not a single person in charge at Fox had the guts to tell him no. Are you kidding me? You think that's a scandal? I've done earlier recordings for my show before, not the live show. So I guess Sean Hannity, oh no, he pre-recorded. Tons of the primetime shows are pre-recorded. I've been on Fox News several times. We recorded sometimes at like 2 or 3 and the show aired at 7. And they'd be like, yeah, we air live at 7. And then what happens is you'll have the host. And this is really obvious if you watch the show. They'll be talking to you and then there'll be a cutaway and then they'll be talking and then it'll show them again. It's because they did a pre-recorded segment because often interviews have to be recorded at different times. This is the big scandal. Is this a joke? What is this? Before Hoax, we knew that Fox News executives had no control over their personalities. What is this? And what do we get? All right. When was this article written? September 6th. I wonder if Eric Wemple has gone on to write about the Jake Tapper fiasco. Let Woodward be Woodward. Kayleigh McEnany is just one up Sean Spicer. Tucker Carlson, Stelter's book. No, it looks like he didn't. Well, listen, man. Wemple did a good job challenging Russiagate narratives and all the medias and all their, scandals. So I'm not necessarily trying to drag him for writing about Stelter's book. But if that's the big scandal, a host pre-recorded his live spot because he had another engagement he was obligated to attend to. Okay, I guess. What about Jake Tapper? A CNN high-ranking staffer with a major platform on the impartial and objective, most trusted name in news, in trying to talk a Republican candidate into running somewhere else and not against a particular Democratic individual. Now, like I said, not the biggest deal for Tapper himself because he can talk to who he wants, but for CNN as an organization, yeah, it's a major conflict of interest. I ultimately don't think the story is the biggest story in the world, to be completely honest. But I do think this is like, we know CNN is a partisan player. We absolutely know CNN is in the bag for the Democrats. They want to pretend like they're not. Come on, man. We know what's going on. And when we look to other outlets, are they going to call out CNN? No, but they'll all call out Fox News. Washington Post will prop up an anti-Fox News book, make money for Brian Stelter. Whatever. Well, I'll tell you what. Right now, Brian Stelter's book is doing pretty well. Number 20 on Amazon. And Sean Hannity's number 12. And Sean Hannity has 20 times the reviews of his book. So take it for what it is. Whatever. CNN, partisan players, you get it. A couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.